And we are the Non-Prophets. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Jeff D. Our producer, Russell Glasser.
Hello.
And Denis Loubet is out of town this weekend, but we have as guests today Keryn Glasser.
Hi.
And Martin Wagner.
Hi, everyone.
Woohoo.
Fellow Austinite atheist pals from way back.
Martin, you are not near any microphone.
I'm not. Okay. Can I be near this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Share the mic.
Here. Share the mic. Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. How's everybody?
Just fine.
Great.
Everything good?
Everything's fabulous.
Everything's very good.
I went to a day after Thursday the 12th party last night.
Thursday. Day after Thursday the 12th.
It was fun. I brought a ladder and we played ladder limbo. And I brought an umbrella and opened it indoors, and then they told me to wear something scary, so I wore my Handsome t-shirt.
Huh.
Scary. That'll work. Yeah.
Where was this party at?
Right up the street from here.
Yeah.
It was lots of fun.
Anybody have any misfortunes?
Well, as a matter of fact, they had a giant trampoline in their backyard. They were jumping on the trampoline, and the trampoline collapsed. I was rather unlucky.
Yeah. So, especially for like that couple that was underneath it.
Well, you know, it's bad luck to be superstitious.
I know. We were told to bring bad luck or good luck charms. There were people wearing like Lucky Charms necklaces and
made of cereal? Oh.
Made for fun party games later on too.
Okay.
How frequent are Friday the 13th? What do you know? Like, what are the odds?
Well, it's 1 in 7, isn't it?
Is it?
Every
7 years?
No.
Every month.
Yeah.
So you get about
almost 2 a year.
Yeah. So you get about 1 a year, and some years you'll get 2.
You'd think that if there was anything to it, that things would be a lot worse in the world in general, because we've had, just since we started numbering the years forward, we've had 2,000 of them by now.
Yeah, but I've never been to a Friday the 13th party, so that was especially fun. Did you know there's actually a word for fear of the number 13?
No, I didn't know.
What
is the word?
It's triskaidekaphobia.
Yeah.
Really?
So the party we went to was called Frigga Triskaidekaphobia or whatever.
Now, I know that some skeptics organize Friday the 13th events. Was this a skeptical organization event or just local people?
Just local people.
Yeah.
I don't think that many people take Friday the 13th like that seriously as this. I think most people view it as, it's a fun day, let's have a party.
Yeah.
There may be some goober out there.
Any excuse for a party.
Yeah. Like some astrology buffs or somebody out there who may actually take it seriously as a day when you might have worse luck than most other days, but I don't think most people are. Yeah. As superstitious as most people are, I think that overall Friday the 13th is just seen as a lark.
I know this one got by me entirely. I didn't happen to run into any mentions of it on TV or the radio or, coworkers or anything. It was like, 10:30 at night before I happened to glance at the calendar.
I was like, it's Friday.
And it's more like, I got a show tomorrow.
Bad luck!
The Institute for Humanist Studies has been conducting an investigation into the atheist charities organization that we've announced in recent shows. They've uncovered compelling, though as yet not completely conclusive evidence that atheist charities is a scam. You can read about their ongoing investigation at their website, www.humaniststudies.org. I checked it again this morning to see if there was anything new.
Do you think it likely that they're just being investigated just because they're atheists?
This is atheists investigating them. Or humanists investigating them.
In that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, the atheistcharities.com website's been down for a long time. The host, the company hosting it, seemed to be aware of this, whoever this user was. If the site's down, it's probably because it's a fraud. And whoever is doing this apparently has, I believe, has done it with other group titles.
Really?
Yeah, I think, I can't confirm this, but I think that there's been a Buddhist charities and whatever. So.
Okay. Well, anyway, the full story is there at www.humaniststudies.org. Slurs, defamation, and discrimination against atheists or their non-believers in the U.S. media should be reported to the National Atheist Ombuds by emailing ombuds@atheism.org. And the Heart of the Beholder film project, as far as I know, can still use your support. The full story on that is www.beholder.com. Keryn, would you lead us off with some news?
Me?
Lead us in prayer.
Lead us in
Okay, news.
I don't even know how to pray. I've never tried it.
Have you ever talked to yourself?
Yeah, you close your eyes and you put
Same
your hands
thing.
together.
Yeah,
in front of your
okay.
face, and
Yeah. There's often a posture involved,
And
but
say
basically
words,
talking to
yeah.
yourself.
Actually, that's an interesting story, too. I was at work the other day.
And
Yesterday. I work in a nursing home, and one of the psychologists came in, and we were talking about this one resident who's having some delusional behaviors because he's rolling around talking to God. And God's talking back to him. And I was talking to the psychologist about his behaviors, and we were talking about how this person is, delusional. And I was, and then I just stopped and I said, wait a second. What if God really is talking back to him? It just, I don't know. It amused me that I was talking to this other doctor, and, it never even really crosses your mind that, I mean, obviously I'm an atheist, but I don't think the doctor is. Yeah. So it just amuses me that even, professionals who believe in God automatically assume that if God is talking to someone, or if they're talking to God, they're delusional. Even if they're religious people. Even if they believe in God.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what God is saying to this guy?
That's confidential information. I'm not allowed to share that.
But is it wacky? Just tell us it's wacky.
Okay, it's wacky.
Okay, thank you. How about some news?
Okay, well, this isn't really news, but it's just, I find this kind of stuff fun to read because it just sort of makes you laugh and get angry at the same time. But,
something we do frequently on this show.
Some of the best comedy out there.
This is the Bipolar Atheist Hour.
There's an article in StarTelegram.com called Faith Moving to Center Stage in the Elections. Televangelist Kenneth Copeland, speaking last week at a conference at the...
That's the guy who looks like that guy on Coach, the short guy.
He does? There's a picture of him here.
Nobody knows.
That's not Kenneth Copeland. That's Roosevelt.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was going to say, that guy doesn't look like the coach. Okay, I don't know. I don't watch television.
This is why you switch it to printer-friendly format, so you don't get irrelevant pictures on the side. That's probably an ad.
That's Kenneth Copeland.
That's Jimmy Carter.
Almost got a pastor.
Shut up. Okay, I wasn't alive when these people were famous.
I will show you Kenneth Copeland.
Okay, thanks. Anyway, but he was speaking at a conference in Fort Worth last week, saying God's judgment will be upon those who don't register to vote or who cast ballots for the wrong agenda. What's
the wrong
God's
agenda?
judgment. In support of the same-sex marriage and abortion. So basically, not Bush.
I hope that the IRS is coming down on this creep like a ton of bricks for
politicking from the pulpit.
For politicking from the pulpit, yeah.
Is that illegal?
That is in fact illegal.
It says Eagle Mountain Lake Ministries generated about $70 million in revenue in 2002. Is revenue
untaxed?
Yeah, untaxed because they're a church.
Right.
We're in the wrong line of work, dude.
No, we're in the right line of work. This happens to be a fact that the right line of work isn't the one that makes the most money.
Shoot!
Yeah, I can tell you that from experience because I'm a social worker and I don't make any money.
Is everything okay with the show?
What's the...
You can hear us, but we're just going to keep talking.
Yeah, let's just go on as if nothing happened. So what did Roosevelt have to say?
Shut up. I always get made fun of when I do news on this show.
I make fun of everybody that does news on this show.
Sorry about that. There was a cat on the mixing board.
And so what happened?
Back up to the part where I said, oh, shoot.
All right.
Oh.
The cat stepped on a switch and everything stopped broadcasting.
Okay. All right.
Keryn, now back go on with it.
That cat is a theist. Doesn't want us to go on with the show. That was an act of God right there. God told the cat to step on the mixing board.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Kenneth Copeland is his ministry, Eagle Mountain Lake Ministry, generated about $70 million of untaxable revenue.
And I hope
in
that
2002.
having basically told everybody to vote for Bush from his pulpit.
Well, he didn't tell him to vote for Bush. He said, God will pass judgment on you, on those who don't register to vote or cast ballots. And then he says, I'm not telling you which way to vote. I'm just saying that you're going to have to deal with the Lord's wrath if you choose wrong.
Threatening people from the pulpit.
Well,
I guess that's all right. But if you threaten people to vote a particular way.
Yeah, that's SOP for Christians.
But you know, I guess there might be a loophole that they can exploit here, and that would be by claiming that they're talking about issues and not candidates. That could be a potential loophole. As far as I know, you're still allowed to talk about issues.
Yeah, the funders are fully aware of this problem. And are coming up with all sorts of creative ways to try to circumvent it.
Yeah.
So
once again, I mean, we all know this, right?
Keryn is now making a sort of sneer face, like, my God.
He doesn't look like the guy from Coach.
Well, he does when he's talking. He looks shorter and older.
All right.
He just has that encased in varnished, shellacked, embalmed look that a lot of fundamentalists...
For all of you people in the chat
it looks like an Amway photo. Here, let me share this with the people in the chat room.
It does look like an Amway photo.
Oh.
That's scary.
Can we go on with the
He's
news?
probably in Amway. Or maybe...
So this guy...
Maybe this Eagle Mountain Ministries is really secretly an undercover multi-level marketing gig.
No, that all religion is secretly an undercover multi-level marketing gig.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway.
Just recruit 10 friends.
No, that's it. I mean,
they'll
that's
go
really,
to heaven too.
That's really all there is to this article. He goes on and
on
about the elections and saying how both candidates are going to have to talk about religion excessively before the election.
They probably will.
I know.
And we're going to have to vote for Kerry anyway.
Yeah.
It sucks, but we're in a place right now where we can't. I don't think we can have scruples about candidates just because they dropped the G word.
Well, I have a sort of follow-up story.
Yeah.
Although this isn't new either. This was printed 100 years ago.
Okay.
Guess who else thinks that it's important for Christians to vote and get their religion involved in the election?
Somebody who's at least 101 years old?
Yeah. Mark Twain.
He's dead, dude.
Well.
Okay. He thought that they should.
This was written 100 years ago.
I'm only complaining about your tent.
Mark Twain was like pretty old when he wrote it. In fact, I believe he was exactly 76 because he was born and died on the years that Halley's Comet came.
Wow. I thought it was
There's an interesting bit of trivia, and let's not get into the pronunciation argument. No, I mean, I heard this being read on the Christian station that I listened to, and I thought, that's odd, because Mark Twain was like a really cynical agnostic.
And he said that they should use their Christianity when voting?
Yeah.
Right.
So I went and looked up this essay, and it was easy to find because it's being passed around email now, with it being an election year. I have here a copy of the full article, which I was able to dig up. Right. The parts that I've highlighted in yellow, which is like less than half of it, are the parts that they're quoting as with lots and lots of dots all over the place.
I see a number of gaps in the yellow here.
Right.
So they're taking just the words that they're interested in.
Yeah. So let me read what this sounds like with their version.
Okay.
Whenever a Christian votes, he votes against God or for him. God is an issue in every election. He's a candidate in the person of every clean nominee on every ticket. His purity and his approval are there to be voted for or voted against. He takes precedence of party. Duty to him is above every claim of party. And it goes on for a while like this. You can see why they like it so much. I'll just read the wrap-up. The Christian vote and the Christian vote alone will decide the contest. It and it alone is master of the situation and lord of the result.
Okay.
And so I went and tracked down the whole thing. Because I knew Mark Twain didn't believe in God, and I thought he must be sarcastic, and it's going right over their heads. So here's a long clip from near the end that they didn't quote.
Okay.
4 years ago, Greater New York had 2 tickets in the field, one clean and the other dirty. With a single exception, an unspeakable ticket with that lonely exception. And then he rants about a political result that he didn't agree with, but he says these are the guys that the Christians elected, basically. Nothing important is on trial except Christianity. It was on trial in Philadelphia, and it failed. In Pennsylvania, and it failed. In Rhode Island, and it failed. In Connecticut, and it failed. In New York, and it failed. In Delaware, and it failed. In every town and county and state, and was recreant to its trust. It has effectively busied itself with the small matters of charity and benevolence, and has looked on indifferent while the country was sinking lower and lower in repute, and drifting further and further toward moral destruction. It is the one force that can save, and it sits with folded hands. This is what I think he's really saying after having read this essay a couple of times. He's saying, if there really was some kind of consistent Christian way of voting, you'd see all the Christians vote for the nice people who promote peace and charity and love and stuff like that. But in fact, Christians are about evenly split in who they vote for anyway. Nobody knows what the hell God thinks when he tells you to vote. And this is not really an incitement to be more Christian. This is basically insulting Christianity, saying, look, the Christians have been voting their conscience for all these years, and look where it's gotten us.
Yeah, but of course, the preachers don't agree with you that nobody knows what God wants.
Well, of course they don't.
They're using their position on the pulpit to try to get their flock to vote the way they want those people to vote.
Sure.
And, you tell them, well, you guys elected Bill Clinton, for example, to take a successful political candidate that we know they don't like.
Right.
And their response is going to be, oh, no, we didn't. There just weren't enough of us voting against him, so we're going to try harder this time to make sure we get the right candidate.
Yeah, well, that's what they're going to say.
In that sense, what if your interpretation of what Twain is saying is correct, it's pretty damn easy for the church to take advantage of that and spin it to their side. It doesn't take much of a stretch.
Sure. But it helps that they cut out all the other portions that said...
Well, it shows that they're full of shit, but it doesn't...
Yeah, I mean, this is nothing new.
He is, in fact, still saying, boy, I wish you guys would vote the way that your religion suggests you really should. Problem is, the ministers are going to step in and say, okay, so Twain said we should vote the way our religion says we really should. We're the guys whose job it is to tell you what our religion says you ought to do in the voting booth.
Right.
So that's exactly what they're doing. It's been a weird news week.
Yes.
Can I do one?
No.
Please.
No.
No?
No.
Martin.
Yes. You may.
You don't have anything. Oh, okay.
I'm just going to tie-break all the votes here.
Swedish pastor jailed for damning gays. From the pulpit. A Swedish court sentenced a Pentecostal pastor to 1 month in prison after finding him guilty of offending homosexuals in a sermon. The case was the first trial test of the national law against incitement as applied to speech against homosexuals. Last year, during a sermon delivered in the East Coast town of Borgholm, Ake Green described homosexuality as, quote, abnormal, a horrible, cancerous tumor in the body of society. He calls homosexuals perverts, whose sexual drive the devil has used as his strongest weapon against God.
Good Lord.
Yeah, during the proceedings, the public prosecutor, Kjell Yngvensson, I'm sure I mangled that name, I did my best, played a tape recording of the sermon. According to the church newspaper, Keryn's Titning, he justified the arrest by saying, "One may have whatever religion one wishes, but this sermon is an attack on all fronts against homosexuals. Collecting Bible verses on this topic, as he does, makes this hate speech." We all know the kind of verses you can find in the Bible. In his defense, the pastor said he merely wanted to make clear the biblical view on homosexuality, not express disrespect.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Green's lawyers pointed to the contradiction between religious freedom and freedom of speech on the one hand, and the rights of homosexuals to be protected against discrimination on the other. A verdict of guilty would violate the pastor's right to preach about his beliefs, the lawyer said. Soren Andersson, president of the Swedish Federation for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgendered Rights, said, "Religious freedom is never a reason to offend people. Therefore," he told journalists, religious freedom.
Well, he was a Pentecostal preacher.
What, Russell?
It doesn't matter if there's a reason to offend people. People have the right to offend each other, I think.
Well, we are talking about Sweden, and apparently, that is really true. What I want us to talk about.
I'm just saying that
would we want there to be a law like that here?
No.
There's a difference between, and I remember studying this in school and having long discussions about this, prejudice and discrimination. Prejudice is not liking somebody else because they're gay. Discrimination is doing something about it, and just talking in a sermon and saying something prejudiced is not discrimination.
Well, this
not
is
allowing them to come into the church.
There's a specific legal term they're using in this case, and that's incitement.
Yeah.
Right. This law is not against saying what you feel like saying. It is against whooping people up into a frenzy to go out and do something about it.
Yeah, but
what
I find troubling about it, as loathsome as obviously this pastor's comments were, right? What I find troubling about the whole incitement issue from a free speech standpoint is that even if that happened, even if a bunch of skinhead assholes went to this sermon and heard what this preacher was saying and decided, he's right, or however they say it in Swedish. Yeah. And went out and found some
homosexuals are from the Satan.
Pork.
All right.
Pork. And they heard this and decided, boy, he's right, and they went out and found some gay guy and whooped up on him a bit.
Yeah.
Again, the people who should be prosecuted there would be the guys who did the deed, right, who committed the violence. And, my view is, free speech, includes the right to say despicable things, It's all part of the free exchange of ideas, and, it's still a matter of choice in terms of if I can listen to some sort of, despicable speech. I can listen to somebody inciting hate and saying, go out and commit violence against these people because of the color of their skin or their sexual preference.
Right.
And, being a rational person, I can choose not to make, the decision to go out and do violent acts based upon what I heard somebody say,
Right.
I have at least that many brain cells to rub together, and I think most people do. You can, the fact, you just saying behind a pulpit or over a microphone or something, I hate X.
Or God hates.
Or God hates X, and I speak for God, and these people are bad, and something should be done about them.
Right.
It's not like mind control. The person saying the thing doesn't force the person who hears it, who goes out and does the thing, to do it. It is still that person's choice to act, to commit the loathsome act. And so they're responsible. So I have a real problem with, as much as I think the intentions of the law are good, in practice, I just don't think it's a viable thing.
Yeah.
In terms of...
Sure, it's the same thing as saying, watching Beavis and Butthead is going to cause you to start fires,
which we talked about last week, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really? Or, listening to rock and roll music is going to cause you to go out and have sex with everybody.
Yeah,
it's effective.
And we've had a similar, situation.
Not everybody.
Okay, not everybody.
This takes me back to Columbine, right? I mean, if everybody was scrambling when Columbine happened to find somebody other than the two kids who were the shooters to blame for what those two shooters did. It was either video games, or it was Marilyn Manson, or it was, this, that, or the other, or it was, we didn't have prayer in school, or whatever. They had to find something to blame other than
and you realize, actually the game they were playing at the time was Doom, which which got under a lot of scrutiny at that time. You realize what the point of the title "Bowling for Columbine" is. Michael Moore says, the day before they shut up that school, they also went bowling.
Right.
No, it wasn't
bowling.
It was the day of.
The day.
No,
okay.
But which is actually inaccurate. Yes. They did not go bowling that morning. But
okay, but regardless, his point was
the class went bowling.
The class. It was a bowling class.
Yeah.
All right, we're not going to be able to remember the details.
We're bad at
it. It was a bowling class.
But what he says was bowling responsible for it?
Right. There was bowling in the past of the students, of the shooters.
And I think didn't they cut that class because they were busy arming themselves up or whatever?
That's the point at which my photographic memory fails me.
See, the problem with what happened with this priest is that if this starts happening around, the Christians are going to start crying persecution, persecution, persecution. And, the way to handle loathsome speech is let these people say the scummy things they want, and, that just lets you know where they stand, and, all right, you're somebody I don't like now.
Yeah, I really think the right answer is public outcry against the very existence of attitudes like this.
Sure, yeah,
right,
exactly.
That, I think, the exercise of free speech to get it on the record that there's a sizable number of us out here who think that even holding opinions like that in the first place, or even following religions that codify opinions like that in the first place, is, horrible and stupid.
Right.
Yeah. And that those people are dangerous.
Still making it clear that they have the right to hold those opinions, it is our civic duty to mercilessly mock and ridicule them.
Yeah, that's called the free and open exchange of ideas. And the way that you deal, I think, with loathsome attitudes in society is you expose them to this public discourse and just shoot them down with reason.
Yeah. There are real... I have heard this term incitement before, and there are, as I understand it, there are real laws on the books here in the U.S. against incitement, where there's a situation where, somebody gets egged on into doing a criminal act, and some responsibility falls on the shoulders of the person doing the egging on, right?
Well,
where they may very well have not... That's not incitement. That's that's conspiracy. But this is somebody's going to throw a rock through a window. They're joking about it, and somebody's go do it. Go ahead, do it. Do it. Do it. Go do it. Do it. Throw the rock.
Is that a prosecutable offense?
I believe that is. Yeah, I believe that is. But, it's, in my mind, there's a big difference between being right there at the scene, you didn't actually do it, but you were encouraging the immediate commission of that act, and expressing an opinion that, that's a bad window, and that window's going to suffer God's wrath, and then being blamed that some idiot threw a brick through it later.
Well, was there an actual hate crime that was enacted?
No.
That was incited by that?
No.
See, so I don't see how the court can call it incitement and actually get a conviction.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
I know the law. I'm pretty sure the law in the U.S. does not say if a bunch of kids standing around outside a window at midnight, and one guy's going, throw the brick, and a cop comes along, that the kid that said throw the brick has committed a crime.
Even if
there was no throwing, if there was no brick throw.
If a guy stands up in a public place and is preaching, all niggers are evil and should be lynched.
Yeah.
Is that a crime?
We probably get him on other laws, disturbing the peace or stuff like that.
Yeah, I know there are things like inciting to a riot or that kind of thing, or public...
But there has to be an actual riot for that to apply.
I guess.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
But history affords example after example of how suppressing unpopular and despicable ideas doesn't work. I just saw a thing in the New York Times website, I think it was yesterday, about how neo-Nazism, which has been rigorously suppressed in Germany,
Yes.
Yeah.
is really picking up steam in France. They've just gone across the border, and they're doing all their vandalizing of synagogues over there. So I mean,
that also implies that it's working in Germany.
Well, no,
and
it's not,
that maybe hang on. All right, I'm not just devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
If in fact they're not doing their stuff in Germany, then that's become a place where they can't get away with it. And if every country was like that, then we would know whether those kinds of laws had a positive effect. Yes, of course, people will go find some place where there aren't laws stopping them from doing what they want to do. It doesn't mean the law itself is necessarily a bad idea.
I think that's really shaky. I mean, I actually, my family hosted as an exchange student from Germany one time. And my dad was talking to him about German history at one point and found that he was like almost completely ignorant of Nazism and the history of World War II.
Oh my God.
Like, they just don't talk about that over there. And, you know, the long-term effects of that are that, you know, over here, you know, the term Nazi is pretty extremist. I mean, it's like people bring up Nazis in an online argument, and, you know, that's almost a cliche. But over there, they don't have the same sense of, well, Nazis are evil. So I can imagine them actually having some sort of mystique because it's something you just don't talk about.
Okay, but I'm just going by what Martin said, this article said, which is that the skinheads have gone to the next country over. Right?
Which
so the laws are working in the sense that if you're the Germans and you don't want those acts committed in Germany, the laws are working.
But if the idea is to send the message that neo-Nazism and anti-Semitism is something that you shouldn't practice, it's failing because all it's doing is it's chasing the people.
Well, but are the French responsible for the attitudes of... I'm sorry, are the Germans responsible for the attitudes of the French?
No, they're not. No, but if people are just crossing the border and being the scumbags and being scumbags in the country next door...
I would certainly agree that a law against being a neo-Nazi isn't an educational program to explain to you why you shouldn't. It's not, right? And if it was intended to be, then it is not working. Is that your point?
Assuming that is what the law is intended to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it was intended to be that. I mean, judging by what Russell just said, it sounds more like we just don't want to see any of this around because it creeps us out. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to look at it.
And sweeping problems under the rug, I don't think has ever, does not make problems go away. That's simply my point.
I didn't mean to get this far down the path in defending this weird German law. I'm just saying.
But okay, so if there's this law that I mean, I'm with you on this, Jeff. I mean, if there's this law that's saying you can't do all this stuff here, so they have to go somewhere else to do it, and they are going somewhere else to do it because they're sick and they need to do that. I mean, if you're saying it doesn't work because they can still go somewhere else to do it, that's like saying that, well, gun control doesn't work because people will just buy guns on the black market, so therefore we should sell guns indiscriminately.
That's an inaccurate representation of that argument. Just because saying that gun control doesn't work because people will buy illegal guns does not automatically lead you to so we should just sell guns, with impunity to any nutbar who comes in the door.
Yeah, the real issue.
Not the same argument.
The real issue is here's the number of gun deaths. Does it go up or down if we enact that law X, right? If the number of gun deaths goes down, that worked, right?
But the issue, as far as this whole neo-Nazi situation in Germany is concerned, if the motive was just we don't want people like this in our country, okay, fine, I will agree with you then that the law works. But if the idea was to send some sort of message about the evils of anti-Semitism and neo-Nazism, I don't think it's worked because again, what you have here is a generation of you have a generation of young people in Germany who now know nothing. What they say about those who don't remember history or didn't repeat it, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And then you also have the problem of just all the assholes went next door and are vandalizing Jewish cemeteries and synagogues in France. And
I see your point.
Yeah,
I think it's maybe.
I think the problem will go away by saying you can't.
I think it's maybe naive to think that that the purpose of a law is to educate. I don't think the purpose of a law is to educate. I think they need the education, and that if they're not, they clearly don't have that, based on what I'm hearing here.
Right.
But that's the problem, not necessarily the law. Now, getting back to your original point, I completely agree. I'm nitpicking with this one example. I think it's absolutely true that making laws preventing, certain points of view doesn't work. I think that's absolutely true.
Aristotle in the chat room is putting in anything remotely related to Nazi ideals or propaganda is illegal in Germany. Even the game Wolfenstein 3D is illegal.
Yeah.
Bringing it back, of course, to blaming video games for stuff.
Did movies like Schindler's List get exhibited in Germany? I can't remember.
That's a really good question.
I don't know. See, those weird kinds of laws like that tend to prohibit things that are on the side of the opponents of the bad thing they're trying to stop. Just because to be on the other side, you have to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what is more effective in terms of really showing up neo-Nazi scumbags for the scumbags they are? Is it making a law saying you're not allowed in our country, or just allowing them to parade down the street in their uniforms and have tomatoes and eggs thrown at them? I mean, let's have the latter and make them just let them realize how loathed they are.
But
a law like this makes them feel, we're the persecuted, God's chosen people, so this proves that we're right because they're all against us. I mean, that's their mentality.
Let me tell you a sad secret about human beings.
They're dumb?
On the one hand, human beings like to make laws against stuff that they find objectionable, right? Mm-hmm. And two, human beings like to be free to believe in or engage in stuff that a lot of other people find objectionable. And for objectionable include offensive, disgusting, stupid, right, insulting, whatever. And on that note, I'll go on to my next story. Fortune tellers safe from police crackdown, Los Angeles. Huh?
Oh, thank goodness.
Fortune tellers of Los Angeles, relax. Your future is safe from unwanted government regulation. But you probably knew that already. Quoting the article here. Los Angeles police commissioners on Tuesday, that's before August 4th, probably a week ago Tuesday, rejected a proposal to regulate the fortune-telling industry by requiring soothsayers, tarot card readers, psychics, and the like to obtain government licenses. The commission rejected the idea because issuing licenses would have the unintended effect of misleading consumers into believing that these people are somehow qualified to practice their trade. Commissioner Rick Caruso said. Now, no, wait, hold it. Let's not agree with this guy quite so fast. While I agree with his motive of not wanting to give the impression that fortune tellers are actually see in the future, this was a terrible missed opportunity. Because this licensing could have included a test of their psychic abilities. Had it done that, had the license included a scientific test, it would have not had the unintended effect of misleading consumers into believing that fortune tellers are qualified. Right? And it would have solved the problem, which is that we get people taking money from other people by lying to them. But once again, they stopped short of requiring proof. Now, why on earth would they stop short? That's what I don't get. Except that it just seems to me that one of the unhappy things about human beings is we like to leave ourselves that leeway to get away with bullshit. And by not establishing a precedent of requiring people to be truthful about this sort of thing, right? They've left everybody free to believe any old crap that they want to.
But those people would believe that crap anyway. I mean, there's no cure for willful ignorance. And maybe some people would have had their delusions and superstitions. They would have seen the light of reason as a result of this. But
no. I'm not suggesting the law should be educational. Again, right? Getting back to that thing. I think, again, the issue when it comes to people believing that horoscopes are actually worth anything is education, real education. But well, let me go on with the story a little bit, right? The proposed law, modeled after a similar ordinance adopted in San Francisco, was suggested by Vice Squad police who say they get about 50 complaints a year about tricks practiced by those who claim to consort with spirits. All right? So there's a real crime here. This is not a question of what you're free to believe. It's a question of what business you're free to perform. Right? And so, I'm not suggesting this should go so far as to round up people that believe supernatural stuff and throw them in jail. But if we said, look, if you want to make money catering to the beliefs of people in the supernatural, prove that you can actually do it. We covered a story here a couple of episodes ago about a law that was passed in Nigeria. Lagos is in Nigeria? Yes. In Nigeria, because they have all these religious programs where they perform miracles on the programs, right? And their commission that covers the broadcasting industry in the country said, look, enough is enough. If you want to claim that a miracle happened on your show, you have to be prepared to prove that a miracle happened on your show. And that's all I'm asking for here. I think that's a brilliant law.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'd love to see that. But of course, it's how slippery these psychic worms are. I mean, they always, the test didn't work because the vibrations in the room were off. I know. I mean, it's bullshit, right? But,
I really frankly don't care if some telephone psychic is going to, make money off of having people call her and say, I think you're going to get married when you're 23 to a tall, dark-haired man.
I do.
Yeah. What I don't understand is, do police officers really use psychics in real life to solve crimes?
Sadly, some have.
So, do the psychics get paid?
Yes.
By the police department?
Yes.
By the state?
Yes.
By
when this happens,
our tax dollars?
Yes, basically, yes.
To pay psychics?
Yes. Now, see, but going back to what you said before, I do care. Not so much about the individual case. There's not necessarily, in the vast majority of cases, there's probably not much harm done, right? What bothers me is that, you remember, I haven't seen a phone psychic TV commercial in a long time. Are those still happening?
Miss Cleo. No,
yeah.
I haven't seen those.
There was the whole big Miss Cleo fiasco, but she wasn't the only one. I haven't seen any of those in a long time. The thing is that advertising serves two purposes, right? One is, of course, to find the people that are interested in your product and, get them to come looking for your product. But the other purpose is to spread the idea that you need the product, that the product is real and valid, right? And that is going after people who might not have necessarily believed that stuff before. That's what really bothers me about the existence of businesses that trade on unprovable supernatural claims. Right? Because part of doing a business is getting other people to believe it. So then what you got is a business that is in the business of getting people to believe stuff that just isn't true.
Yeah, like these damn magnetic bracelets.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Magnetic bracelets?
Yeah, apparently it's like magnetism power.
Yeah.
My mom uses those.
Yeah, it's bullcrap.
Or the thing, the soles.
Total bullcrap.
The insoles for your shoes.
Yeah.
They're magnetic. They're supposed to.
Yeah.
Get your body's energies all aligned.
Yeah. I'm not...
It's utter nonsense.
I understand the idea behind those. I just don't know if I understand that it actually works or not.
It absolutely doesn't work.
I mean, I understand.
There is no evidence that
the same as the...
And not only is there no evidence, but just that based on known theory how the body works.
I mean, you know what it reminds me of? The whole magnetism thing and how it's supposed to draw the metals in your blood and stuff. It reminds me of in X-Men 2, how Magneto got the bullet by drawing iron out of the guy's blood. That was really cool.
Yeah,
that's cool in X-Men.
Yeah,
when you're selling a fraudulent product.
I hate to tell you this. Comic books, not really true.
Didn't you think this? I mean, Unbreakable? They could be.
Yeah, comics aren't really true. Sorry, I'm a huge fan, but it's not true. Unlike a lot of people, I don't require my fantasies to be reality in order to enjoy them.
Well, but see,
not some of them, anyway.
In my opinion, is the point of psychic networks. You don't require them to be reality in order to enjoy it. I mean, I've been an atheist my entire life, but I spent my entire childhood playing with Ouija boards, doing trances and seances, and reading tarot cards, and I loved it. I thought it was fun. Yeah. We did it. Psychic readings were the same way. We used to have carnivals at school, and there was always a fortune teller booth. And I had some other little 6-year-old girl telling me that I was going to get married to Russell Brott, who was my bully, and I was just like, oh my God, no! I'm going to marry Russell?
Yeah, well, that's cute when you're 6.
Yeah, when you're a little kid, yeah.
When you're a grown-up and still getting people to believe it, it's a little worrying.
I don't think... No, I mean, we weren't getting people to believe it when we were 6.
No, but...
to believe it now. We're playing. It's a game.
But there was a
We're
booth.
Having fun.
Money was taken at the booth?
Yes. Tickets were taken at the booth.
Yeah.
It's
but they're what, for a few pennies?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not talking about somebody...
Big old sign saying for entertainment purposes only.
I don't think we did that.
Everyone's sick.
I just think for me
that and Miss Cleo taking your MasterCard and then charging
There is, but I think that's peripheral. The central issue is
fun to call a psychic, just not because I really think she's going to really tell my real future.
Just because you think it would be really fun to pay money to talk to another human being. That's sad.
But what about the fortune telling booths at the Renaissance Festival?
What about them?
You think they shouldn't have those either? They're fun.
I'm not prepared to go quite that far, but I do think pointing at some examples of innocuous psychic businesses misses the question that I think is important, which is, does the government have a legitimate interest in regulating that kind of stuff? I mean, sure. I mean, you don't think the government has a...
Let's go back to the example of indictment. Let's go back to the example of, two boys... There's a boy that's going to throw a rock through a window, and there's 2 boys that are egging him on. Yeah. But in the end, if the boy throws the rock through the window, he's the one that's responsible for the fact that he threw the rock through the window. If you're going to a psychic reader...
So... Yeah, may I take your analogy from here? Because I think it's flawed. So what you're saying then is if there's a psychic, there is. Listen, you're saying the psychic is analogous to the guy egging the other guy on, right?
Yeah.
And the guy is not throwing a brick; he's throwing his own money. So you're saying if a psychic can talk the guy into throwing his money away, it's not the psychic's fault; it's the fault of the victim.
I'm not talking about money. I'm saying if the psychic says, I can pretend to read your fortune, this is all fun and games.
Ooh, but does he say it's all fun and games? I mean, I completely agree.
Cleo always had a disclaimer at the bottom of her commercial.
But it was really
in really tiny print.
Yeah, and it was on screen for a nanosecond.
All disclaimers are in really, really tiny print.
That's because that shows that, the amount of disclaimer that there is an indication of how serious our legal system is about doing something about this.
But I wasn't talking about his money. I wasn't talking about him spending the money. I was talking about whether or not he chooses to believe what she tells him.
But it's not belief that bothers me. It's not belief that bothers me. What bothers me is rip-offs.
Give her money?
Rip-offs.
No, Keryn, there
fraud.
Are content.
That's what bothers me.
I mean, you've seen like the Rainmaker, right? I mean, there are people who actually go around and make up a bunch of BS and get people to give them a whole bunch of money, and then they abscond with it. They walk off with a whole bunch of money. Should there not be any laws against that? It would be like, well, the guy convinced them that he could make it rain, so, he deserves all that money because the people believed him. It's their own fault.
Yeah, no, Keryn did not mean to suggest, as she tried to make it clear, that her analogy was about the money. That you're saying the analogy is about the belief. My point is that when you're getting back to that analogy, right? If you're the guy egging on your friend to throw a brick because you think it'll be funny, that's one thing. If you're the guy egging your friend on to give you his money so that you'll benefit at his expense, and he actually gets nothing out of it except entertainment, but thinks that it's not entertainment. He thinks it's true, right? It's worse. It's actually much worse than that, because now the guy doing the egging on is personally benefiting from getting other people to believe that stuff.
So what are you proposing that the law should say?
I'm not sure, but I will say, I think the law they have in France saying that it's against the law to take advantage of someone's personal tragedies to get them to join your cult.
So,
right? Their law against that
should be allowed, but they're not allowed to.
Hold on. I'm giving you some examples, right? That law they have in France, I'm all in favor of that.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely great.
Sure.
I think the law they have in Nigeria, that if you want to claim on your TV show that a miracle happened, you have to be able to show that a miracle happened. I think that's great. And I think a law that said, sure, you can be a psychic in our town, you can practice the psychic business. All you got to do is take this test and prove that you really have psychic powers.
It's like wanting to be a surgeon.
I think that's great.
Because,
Why?
I think they should be able to say, I think it should be just fine that they should be able to say, sure, you can practice this business, but you have to make it clear to your client that this is not real.
I absolutely agree. And I think those little...
I don't think they have to prove that it is real. I think they have to just make sure the person understands.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
The thing is, I was just going to toss in one deal, is that the psychic businesses, okay, and this gets back to Jeff's point. What a person's beliefs, whatever belief they're brought up into, or whatever superstition they choose to hold, or what have you, is not a thing that you can regulate.
Right. Not suggesting that we should.
It is even if you could, it's not you can't regulate a person's mind and thoughts and beliefs. So
not yet, and even if we could, I'd be against it. But what you can
regulate are businesses that defraud people who have these beliefs by exploiting the beliefs and the ignorance.
Yes, there is an actual legal thing, legal term called affinity fraud. I know you're very familiar with this.
And the point you're making, Keryn, about how, these businesses should be allowed to do what they do as long as they put up this gigantic sign in big red letters, with 72 points saying, this is not real, I do not really possess these powers, I'm just here to entertain you. It's like saying, putting up, it's like opening a brothel and putting a big sign on the door saying, we all have HIV. Come on in. It's like, it's counterproductive to the business. The business relies on, the ignorance of the people who really believe.
Yeah, it would also be counterproductive to this business if they were tested.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
I think that would be counterproductive to the business. But there is a real thing. There's a real thing called affinity fraud, which is a kind of scam, often insurance or investment related, where you find people who have a certain belief, and you say, I have that belief too. Say it's God or Jesus, right? I believe in Jesus too. That's why you can trust me. We'll pray, and that'll guarantee that your money will grow in my investment scheme.
Well, let me throw out another completely obscure example. Should candy companies be allowed to sell candy for Halloween? Is that them exploiting the pagan religion?
pagan religion. Is that why? Is a pagan religion why people buy candy for Halloween?
It's paganism why people celebrate.
It's celebrating the Day of the Dead.
But the way Halloween is practiced in America,
and they get a real product.
It's become secularized, right? I mean, it's this thing like the Easter Bunny.
So you're saying it's okay because we understand it's not real.
I think it's okay because there's a real product.
Nobody. Unlike the people who go visit.
If somebody says,
people who go trick or treating don't really believe in. They're not real pagans.
Do you know?
Okay, guys, that's a digression.
Whoever comes to your
door. That's a digression.
We're not allowed to.
Can I?
Treating. Ask them if they're pagan.
Hang on.
When Halloween rolls along.
Ask me what I would think if a company was selling curses for Halloween. You give me $10, I'll curse the person you want me to curse.
And it will really work.
For Halloween. They claim that it's really true, and they want $10 for it. And now they're taking advantage of somebody's beliefs to give them a product that doesn't exist. Right? The product for these psychics, for future predicting psychics, the product doesn't exist. That's fraud.
Halloween candy
That's
exists.
The problem. Yes, Halloween candy exists. It can be crappy candy, right?
But healthy.
But
okay.
You know, in 100 years, when we've gotten rid of all the out-and-out fraud, we can start worrying about, regulating simply bad products. Right now we're talking about fraud. We're talking about lying for dollars.
This affinity fraud that you're talking about, a buddy of mine, a really good friend of mine, his father, who his parents are ministers, very fundamentalists. He's dyed-in-the-wool atheist. His father was scammed like this. This is a guy who has really bad financial acumen anyway. He was taken in by a fellow from his church who said, you should give me all of your money to invest in gold because Jesus is coming soon. And what's going to happen is before that happens, the government is going to be taken over by the Antichrist, and they're going to seize everyone's bank accounts. But if you put your money in gold, if you give your money to me to put in gold, then you'll be safe when the rapture and the tribulation and all this stuff happens, okay, or whatever. So this my friend's buddy did this, gave this guy like $100,000.
Right, because a bunch of shiny metal is going to be extremely useful when when.
But this is taking advantage of ignorance and stupidity to just fleece somebody.
Right.
And it's different than how, so that's just the point we're making.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you that they should be able to lie to people to get their money, but I'm challenging. I mean, I still think that things like fortune telling should be allowed as long as you tell somebody that it's a game.
I basically agree with that.
I mean,
right, but you're the one who
for money.
But hang on. I basically agree with what you're saying in principle, but you were the one who brought up that the disclaimer that they had on those psychic hotline things, right? That's like a fraction of a second long and tiny print, so you can't read it. There is maybe that's the way to address this, right? Maybe that's the way to address it. But do you think that disclaimer is strong enough?
I knew what the disclaimer said.
They were raking in millions of dollars anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think that disclaimer was strong enough?
Sure, there could be millions of people in the world that enjoy going to psychics because they think it's fun.
Wow. But so the difference between say the guy that plays a doctor on TV, right? Here's an analogy on my side. You can play a doctor on TV. That's fine. Everybody knows that's fake. Everybody really does know that's fake. Right? We don't have a problem there. If we had a problem, I'd start being in favor of laws like this. But in the meanwhile, we don't have to worry too much about a guy that plays a doctor on TV, because if he turns around and tries to play a doctor in real life, then that's fraud. How do we know? Because he doesn't have a license.
Sure, but
because he's never been educated, he's never demonstrated that he can actually perform as a doctor and not endanger people. That's my analogy. If you're pretending to be... there's a difference between a movie about people that go and talk to a psychic and somebody who sets up a shop and says, give me your money, I'll tell you the future. the big difference.
Well,
And by the way, they have those disclaimers on TV ads, but we got frickin' psychic tarot card palm readers all over Austin, and I've never seen a single disclaimer.
I don't see the sign.
As far as I know, in Austin, there is no such disclaimer required.
That's because, as far as I know, it's not required. Right, sure. I'm saying it should be required.
I agree.
I'm saying my position would be, I think they should be allowed to sell that business if they can do it effectively with a disclaimer.
Okay. I think there's a legitimate issue of public concern there.
When I asked you about the Renaissance Festival, you said that was different. Why?
No, I didn't say that was different.
You did.
No, I didn't.
Do you think they shouldn't be able to do like tarot readings and
without a disclaimer?
At the Renaissance?
Without a disclaimer.
With or without a disclaimer, whichever you prefer.
At least there should be a disclaimer.
Okay, sure.
I mean, that's really what you and I are arguing over now is a matter of degree.
Well,
we are in agreement.
I don't know about
we are
the
in agreement.
Renaissance Fair because, should the people at the food stand say, warning, this is not an authentic Renaissance
at the Renaissance
pastry.
Fair, people know that they're going to a place where it's this recreation of a mythical
I hate to tell you this, but I've actually been in the Society for Creative Anachronism, and I am not at all certain that all of the people actually performing the tarot card readings at these things are aware that they're fake.
But I'm saying, like, the people who go off, like the public who go to the Ren Fest, I mean, they know that these aren't real knights and real kings. They're people in costume, and it's all a lark. And I think that a lot of, like, the gypsy fortune tellers that they have at the Ren Fest, I think, are viewed in that
I've
lark,
been in the Society for Creative Anachronism,
but
too.
That's why...
I would question whether or not some
of the members of this group
actually understand that it's not real.
and crew who says, let's go to the Ren Fest this weekend.
Okay, but hang on. I think this is an argument in favor of the degree to which I want to take this. Right? I think they should be frickin' tested and licensed if they can pass the test.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Right? That's what I think. I think that, because that solves the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to tell people's fortunes, be able to actually do it. Mm-hmm. If you can't actually tell people's fortunes, then you can set up a little, shop that has the trappings of a tarot card reading place, but don't be pretending you're telling people's futures if you're not.
Yeah.
The problem I have with that, again, is that I don't believe in psychic powers. And if everybody had to prove it, then and get licensed, there would be no more psychic readers.
Yeah.
And again, I still think that
Mission
it's
accomplished.
fun and games, and it should be allowed.
It's not fun and games for the people who are A, deliberately committing fraud, and B, the stupid people who lose their, thousands and thousands of dollars because they're defrauded.
Well, then we should control for that by making sure that they're doing it for fun and game purposes.
And if they want to claim that
by
they're doing
having a disclaimer.
And if they're not doing it for fun and game purposes,
I don't think they need to have a license. I think they need to have a disclaimer.
But not all of them.
We've been talking about this for like 45 years.
We have.
Yeah, but the last thing I'm going to say on it, the issue that I don't think that you're getting, Keryn, is that they're not all the psychics are not all doing it for fun and games.
I
Some of that, like the Sylvia Browns of the world.
And I think we could
Sylvia
resolve
Brown will charge us $750 for a phone reading.
Okay.
Okay, and she really is delusional. She thinks that she has these magic powers.
Well,
and the people who call her really think that she has these magic powers. And she's being defrauded.
Okay.
She has repeatedly refused tests.
Okay.
Okay, I get it. It seemed to me that you were thinking that everyone
and I think
is doing it for fun and games.
That they should have a law that requires them to have a disclaimer that it's not real. And if she really thinks she's real,
she should be tested. She should consent to a test if she wants to conduct it. If she wants to charge $750.
If she wants to not have a disclaimer.
There you go. Now let's move on to the next damn topic already.
Please.
My God.
Russell, how about some news?
Okay, I have a follow-up on something that I brought up but wasn't really prepared for.
I have another thing on this theme.
Oh. Well, we're running out of time for themes.
Are we really?
It's past 3.
Let me say 5 sentences.
Okay.
The Pope went to Lourdes. Everybody know Lourdes, the place where Catholics believe you can get miracle cures?
Yes, where actually more people die than in most other places.
No. In fact, the funny statistic is more people die in transit going to Lourdes for the special trip to get the miracle cure than actually get miracle cures. That's the funny statistic. And the funny thing about this story is he's just as old and feeble and senile as he has been, as he was before he went. Okay, great. Go, Russell. That place, they should frickin' shut places like that down.
Oh, well, you know,
angers me.
Talking about the latest bit of fad frauds going on, because I'm working in film a lot.
Big
now,
neon sign over Lourdes saying this
for entertainment purposes only. Over every damn church, there should be a sign for entertainment, because that's what religion is. Religion is entertainment that has started to pretend it's not.
Well, I think religion has always pretended it's not.
What were you saying?
It hasn't started to pretend it's not.
Yeah.
When did people believe that religion was for entertainment value only?
Yeah, when did people go to Christian churches?
I think if you go far enough back in time, your religion is not going to start with some guy saying, "Oh, I know. I'll say that there's this invisible guy who's my personal friend, right? And he told me X is good and Y is bad, and I'll go tell everybody else and get them to believe that I am the person they should believe about how they should feel about X and Y."
You do think that's how it
No,
started?
I don't think it can possibly have started with something that complex. You know how I think it could have started? I think it could have started with a guy playing drums, and the other people like the way he plays drums, and they're dancing around, and they say, "Gosh, why is it he plays such good drums?" And somebody comes up with, could be him, could be somebody else, comes up with, "Well, it's spirits."
I think religion probably started earlier than that.
When he said that,
I think you got to go back to like
there
legends told around the
are two
campfire.
parts to religion, right? There's the bullshit. And then there's the entertainment. That's all there is.
Yeah, I mean,
now I guess it's possible that I'm wrong, and where religion comes from is somebody started with bullshit and eventually had to tack entertainment onto it so people would, get suckered in more. That's possible, but I think it's more likely that there's two drummers, and now people have to decide which drummer do you go listen to, and one of them spins a better story than the other.
I think religion probably started earlier than that. I think it was just somebody looking up and seeing the sun and not knowing what it was and deciding to worship it because it warmed the earth and grew the crops. That's.
Sure. It's not religion until there's a guy making a living, being the go-between between you and the sun.
But eventually, the guy who started the sun learned how to play drums, I guess. But one thing that's driving me nuts is that this latest celebrity fad that's happening right now, which is Kabbalah, which is swooping over the entertainment industry. Like I believe it's this.
Is that Jewish mysticism?
Jewish
Kabbalah's
mysticism.
Not recent.
No, but it's
recent fad.
It's like it's the new Scientology out in Hollywood now. Madonna's into it, Demi Moore's into it. They are, and it's become like this cult. There's this Kabbalah center run by these two rabbis who are now hooked up with all the celebrities, and they sell bottles of Kabbalah water for insane amounts of money.
Madonna and Demi Moore are Jewish.
Madonna wants to be referred to as Esther now. That's her new name. I kid you not.
This is so surprising. I mean, celebrities have shown such good judgment in the past about their
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Here's the recent thing.
Madonna is Jewish?
No.
Yeah, no. She has latched herself onto this Kabbalah Jewish mysticism. This is her new spirituality. Okay, and she's opening a school in New York. And on her recent tour, she's demanding all these cases of Kabbalah water.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't keep the name Madonna if you're going to.
And it's become like this new trend. It's Kabbalah is the new Scientology out in Hollywood. It's the new celebrity fad religion. And your drumming sounds like. Thank you.
Thank you.
But what the most recent thing that happened was that Target actually started selling these Kabbalah strings, which are like these little pieces of red yarn about so long. And you tie them around your wrist, and they're supposed to protect you from the evil eye.
The now string, ready cut, easy to handle. Simpsons individual stringette.
Exactly. No, it's a little piece of red yarn that you can go to. I think
I've seen that.
Yeah, and they sold them for like $25.
I've seen people wearing that.
Okay, for this little string of yarn.
Tell them they're dumb.
Okay. And what happened was Target recently started selling these, and they got such a flurry of.
Tell them their mother is dumb.
That they got like thousands and thousands of consumer complaints that they were selling these Kabbalah red strings on their website and dropped them. So there's a lot of outrage about this story, but it's just like it's the latest bullshit sweeping this this business, and it's just nuts.
Russell has been patiently waiting to do his news story. Go ahead,
okay,
Russell.
more bullshit this time from the Republicans.
Selling a $25 string to protect you from the eagle eye.
We agree.
Fraud.
We agree.
Yeah.
You remember last time I brought up something, but I hadn't printed the story about the Republicans requiring people to sign a statement saying, I agree that President Bush and Dick Cheney should be reelected before they can get in to listen to them speak.
Is this in Albuquerque?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Eleanor, I forwarded this to the list because my two best friends live in Albuquerque, and so she sent it to me because she found out that George Bush was coming and she wanted to go see him speak, and she couldn't without signing an oath
of loyalty
and conformity to the Republican Party.
It didn't say oath of loyalty and conformity, did it?
It said I think it specifically said conformity.
Yeah, and not only that, the oath says that once you've signed this, we may use your name as an endorsement. So, like, if you're a member of the press, for example, and you just want to get in
and
wondering what's going on with Dick Cheney, they can now say, hey, this guy used to be a really liberal journalist, but now he's all for Dick Cheney.
These people have no shame. No shame whatsoever.
And if you want to ask any questions, they have to be pre-approved.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, that's the protesters out, and it gives this false impression.
But what happens?
Whereas
can they enforce it? I mean, what happens if you sign the oath?
They can use your name.
Yeah.
They can use your name as an endorsement.
Yeah.
So what if you still register yourself with the Democratic Party and vote for Kerry?
Well, if you do that, but you're still dumb enough to sign their oath of conformity, then you can't really control how your point of view will be abused.
Right.
And by them. I mean,
okay,
you signed it away.
let's role play through this, right? I'm George Bush. I'm the Bush administration, and you want to come to hear me speak, right?
This was Dick Cheney.
I'm Dick Cheney, and you want to come hear me speak. So we hand you a piece of paper, sign this, that says you agree that I should be president, or I should be vice president, right? And you agree with everything our administration does. You sign that, right? Just to get in. You don't actually believe it, but you sign it anyway, right? And then you turn on the news and you see Dick Cheney reveals that Keryn Glasser is one of his supporters.
So?
Well, if you're not.
That doesn't bother you?
You don't mind being mischaracterized.
Sticks and stones may break my bones.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, okay, let's role play another situation.
Misrepresenting you?
I get labeled and misrepresented all the time. I am a
Do you
vegan,
like it?
Jewish,
but do you like it?
Democratic.
That doesn't make it a good thing.
Female.
That doesn't make it a good thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
No.
Let's take one more step in my little role playing experiment.
Anyway.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't speak out.
So a friend of yours, right, asks you, "Do you really support Dick Cheney for president?"
And I say no.
And then the next day on the news, you see a big story.
Keryn flip-flops.
The Bush administration says Keryn Glasser is a liar. You are now a liar. You signed a piece of paper saying you support us. You're a liar.
But I could make a counter story saying, here's what happened. What happened? I signed the oath of conformity.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to conform myself to the Republican Party. And I went in, and I heard George Bush talk in person.
Yeah. And
he made me change my mind.
Now you're a flip-flopper. Like Russell said. The point is, by getting you to sign to a piece of paper, they put you in a position.
When I saw him in person,
they have put you now, but they have now put you in a position where, if you change your mind, they look good and they can make you look bad.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. That is what it's all about.
Defensive now. You're always going to be on the defensive. Yeah. The toothpaste is
if
out of the
I
tube
ever plan on running for political office,
hang on, this is a riot. In the chat room, Lone Soul says, and Bush recently said he hasn't heard anything negative about his presidency. Wonder why.
Talking about a hermetically sealed life.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, I'm glad that there's folks like us here to protect your freedom, your freedom of integrity, even if you're not going to protect it yourself.
I think it is total and utter bullshit, and I think that the president should not be allowed to isolate himself from the people that he represents just because they don't agree with him. I think that's wrong and sick and unconstitutional.
I disagree. I think he should be able to isolate himself, and I'd rather he did it on some little island in Jamaica.
No, I don't want to ruin Jamaica. It's a wonderful vacation spot.
Look, a really little island.
These guys are public servants, and whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican, Dick Cheney happens to be the Vice President of the United States right now, and I would like to be able to go into a place where he's speaking to see what he has to say without having to lie, without being forced to lie about my own personal.
That's a good point too.
He's not.
I agree.
Corporate
it certainly
big
is.
Shot who
well, actually, he's just like that.
Well, he is.
He's that and a vice president.
He's right. Something has happened recently to our whole,
vice president.
Our whole concept of representative government in this country. Have these people forgotten that they work for us?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean they work for us.
I'm not sure "forgot" is the right word.
I actually wrote an article on that on him forgetting that he is the representative of the people. He works for us. We should be able to impeach him if he doesn't whatever blah 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 blah. And I submitted it to a newspaper for the opinions page and it didn't get print.
Right. And even if I didn't vote for him, if he's my president, I should have the right to hear what he has to say.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah. Of course, back to that would be.
I'd like to contrast this with the fact that in the last week or two, there was a story about how Kerry was at a rally, and a bunch of people were off in the sidelines shouting. And his response was to look over at them and say, "I'd like to thank these guys for coming out here and getting our guys fired up to perform a counterattack."
All right, that's it. I'm voting for Kerry.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I changed your mind.
That is almost identical to a wonderful moment that occurred in the Atheist March on Washington.
Yes.
When I was there.
What?
There were hecklers over to the side, and they had the reverend from the what is that fake church? Know which one I mean?
Yeah, I do.
The online fake church. And all I can think is Tammy.
Anybody out there?
No, I know it. It's Baptist something. Landover.
Landover Baptist. Thank you. They had the preacher from Landover Baptist.
Yes.
And he said something very similar to the hecklers, the Christian hecklers, of which we had a few dozen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've noticed that good comedians do not insist on getting the hecklers out of the room. What they do is they give them cut downs that are better than what the hecklers are saying, and that's classy.
Make them part of the show.
Yeah. Right.
What was one of the best one I ever heard? Oh, he's just upset because his parents wanted a boy. That was a good cut down.
Yeah. Well.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway,
Keryn, how about some more news?
And I've got something about a Christian comedian when that comes up.
Would you rather?
Well,
Go ahead.
This isn't great news. This is a very interesting news story.
It wasn't a very good week for news, actually, I found.
Well, I had 5 minutes because Russell wouldn't let me use his computer. There's a story about there's a in Australia, public officials face complaints of vilification under a law which some Christians fear is being used to stifle free speech. Apparently there was a person who was a judge, I guess. Wait, no. I'm not good at this.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Someone. I
happen to know the story.
But was a transsexual and confessed
And
to
Wiccan.
being a witch,
Yeah.
but then somebody said, "Oh my God, you're a witch, you're bad." Then they said, "Oh, I'm being vilified because I'm a witch,"
Yeah.
and took it to court, basically. And then
Right.
somebody, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kook versus kook.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
And they're saying, "Oh, well, we should be able to call you evil because you admitted that you're a witch, and you're stifling our free speech for calling you evil."
Yeah, see, I'm glad that the public discussion is sort of circling around this issue of what can you really get away with saying about another person because of your religious beliefs. You know, that your religious beliefs make that okay, where it wouldn't be okay for, like, the average man in the street. And I think eventually we're going to keep circling in on that point until that's really directly the point that people are discussing. And that, you know, that's what I liked about that previous story from
She's on city.
from Sweden.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this person is on city council,
Yes.
and they're bitching and moaning that the Wiccans planted her on city council so that they'd have somebody on their side who's sympathetic to their cause. I'm sorry, is there any rule against
Yeah, they have
a Wiccan being on city council?
No.
What do you mean planted? What the hell?
Well, they're mad because
Oh my God.
they're mad because she didn't make a big deal about being a Wiccan when she was running for office.
That's because that kind of thing should be kept personal anyway.
Yeah, should
Well, yeah.
Everybody
have to make
that
a big deal about
runs
being
for
Christian.
city council,
I know they do, but
everybody that runs for city council should not have to make a big deal out about what their religion is.
correct.
That shouldn't be part of the issue. You know why? Because we have a separation of church and state
Well, no,
in
that's
this
Australia,
country.
but you know.
Okay, well, yeah.
The
okay,
principle
sorry,
is the
that's
same.
right.
I mean, a
Whatever.
person's religious beliefs are their business. It should not be the state's business ever.
I just think it's kind of cool that they're making a big deal out of the fact that she's a Wiccan and not that she's a transsexual.
Okay. We'll get around to that as soon as the Wiccan thing is played out.
Yeah. Saving it for later.
Yeah, the thing from this
How
previous
is
story about Sweden that I thought was interesting is that comment from the president of the Swedish Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Foundation, who says, and I'm paraphrasing here, because I don't want you guys to nitpick with the phraseology, that religious freedom shouldn't give you the freedom to break the law. Right? Religious freedom should be
Right.
your freedom to practice your religion, but the law is the law.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is getting near to that point that I think is crucial in this whole discussion. I think, you know, I'm looking forward to the point when we're directly talking with people about, look, is it okay, is it not a threat when you say, my God's gonna burn you in hell forever unless you do as I say? And is that anything different from, you know, issuing a threat to somebody in public to their face about what you are going to do to them?
Well,
we have
a
there's
word for
no
people.
difference. And that's against the law, too, by the way. Threatening people
Yeah, we
is
have
against the law.
We have a word for the kind of people that say, do what I say or I'll
Terrorists.
hurt you.
They are
Right.
called
Yeah.
terrorists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is certainly the case there.
So, that's what I think is interesting about that. Okay, Russell, news story?
I'd like to do one last funny thing because
All right.
there was a huge puff piece in the New Yorker magazine this week about a Christian comedian.
Uh-huh.
And buried in here, the guy's name is Brad Stein. He's a 44-year-old politically conservative evangelical Christian stand-up comic. And if you've ever read...
Sad when a Jewish boy goes wrong like that, huh?
No, it's S-T-I-N-E. I don't think that's the Jewish.
Well, good then.
So buried in this article, I found some examples of what his material is like. Stein tried out some new material, like, Jesus was an interesting cat because he was God for 33 years and he only told people about it for 3. Don't you think his friends had to suspect something? Pausing for laughter here. And then one of the great downsides of being a Christian is that my religion forbids me to hate people. Beat. Oh, I want to hate people. That's what's so amazing about Christianity. It forces you to act against what your body wants to do. I want to hate. Not that anybody comes to mind right off the bat. France. Most of this went over well, though a one-liner about Salvador Dali was greeted with puzzled silence. Stein's act is built about his rants, which often have the flavor of sermons. He rails against atheists, liberals, Darwinists, pro-choicers, animal rights activists, moral relativists, pretty much anyone who doesn't believe that the Bible is the literal truth, with a vitriol that seems to tap into his audience's own sentiments. There is, in fact, a civil war of ideology. It's real.
Was that a joke?
I don't get it.
Well, what do you say? Accept Jesus Christ as your Savior. He says that in the future, Christians could wind up being imprisoned just for expressing the ultimate tenet of their faith. Accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, or spend eternity in hell. Well, what are you saying? I should just believe in Jesus Christ so I don't go to hell? He asks mockingly. Then he whispers, pretty much.
Okay.
Now,
where is the comedy?
I don't know. But I noticed that this guy doesn't really believe in his religion because, just from reading that, he doesn't seem to believe it because it inspires him or because he likes the message, but because he feels like he has to. Because he's like, my religion forbids me to hate people, but I want to hate this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, but I don't because, I can't.
But he really does because apparently his...
If you want to hate someone,
you do.
You hate them.
Right.
If that's what you want, then that's what you do. I mean, it's not like... Ugh.
So Christianity for him hasn't been this enlightening thing. It's been a thing that just confirms all of his prejudices.
Yeah,
makes him feel superior. Like gee, that's a different...
That was a laugh riot there.
Oh, man, oh, man.
And on that note...
Are we done?
Yeah, we are.
Wait,
okay, everybody.
Do it.
We're out of time.
Tech show on the television tomorrow.
Yes, those of you listening from Austin, Texas, on the Atheist Experience TV show on cable channel 10 from 4:30 to 6 tomorrow.
4:30 to 6, starring me.
Starring Keryn and other chicks.
And other chicks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.